specifically for both Smile and as well as TNZ. What exactly are they going to get their hands on to really change this game? Because previously TNZ was the weird one. He was bringing out the the Amon. He was also bringing out the Leomore when it wasn't meta during its time and still found success.
Yeah, TNZ, Rosa, quite a few players on the side of Ulfhednar do like bringing out these weirder picks and playing around with them, which I do hope we get to see, but since it's still very early on in the wildcard, it's hard to say whether or not they will lean in that direction, because so far, the bans are looking pretty standard.
I mean, we say standard, but Chip is wide open, but they're not going to be picking up. A lot of teams here at the wildcards have either been banning it out on red side or just not touching it whatsoever and then looking to ban it into the second phase. There are bigger priorities that are easier to play, which doesn't force you to think about the map differently.
And it just shows how much the meta has developed, right? Suyo and Chip, two heroes that were must pick or ban in the very early phases of the game, now being allowed through a little bit more often, with GK prioritizing the high-lows to go for a little bit more of that team fight control. We see the Cho being locked in on the side of Ulfhednar, followed up with that Gatot.
Okay, strong start coming out from the side of Ulfhednar. Where do they go from this? Both junglers have not been locked in. I mean, the Cho already de-incentivizes GK from actually diving deep in towards that assassin pool. They could go for an early alpha if they want to, but they're going to lock in their gold laner as expected in that first phase. So far, 80% pick and ban, 50% win rate so far. A gold laner that is great at the early stages and scales well late.
Bruno has been shooting up in pick rate ever since teams started realizing the extent you could really abuse Malefic Gun on heroes like this. Strong early, strong late, just generally not gonna lose out lane to most other picks, and Tuss is very safe to pick even when you don't know what his lane opponent is going to be. And they're gonna complete their first phase draft with the Suyo too.
Okay, I like this. So far, seems pretty standard. I think that, especially for ULF, if they're going for any kind of jungler to kind of mirror what their opponents are doing right now, they can go for the alpha if they want to. I would love to see the classic TNZ Leomore, because we've seen that before, into Suyo, and it honestly does pretty well. The sustainability on top of the fact that you can consistently pump out damage is always great, but they are going to be leaning into the Harith this time round against the Bruno.
Looks like Ulfhednar want to make sure that they at least have a gold laner that can still go toe-to-toe with Bruno in the early phases, though Bruno will still have the advantage there. The fact that they've gone in this direction, though, means that they haven't picked their jungler at this point, and it's going to make it quite easy for GK to ban out common options like the Alpha.
Let's see what it's going to be, because it's going to be red side who starts off the bans first. We're currently missing mid laners from the side of GK. But it looks like more of a pick-off composition from ULF. I mean, based off of the first three picks, but if they get rid of Aurora, they could think about, I mean, Yve is already banned out as well. Getting rid of the Khalid, actually. Interesting.
Getting rid of the Khalid, that instantly makes you think that they want to prioritize an assassin jungler, because Khalid would be one of those heroes that if you play roam, instantly can invade. If you play EXP, can clear lane quickly and invade. So if you're going for a assassin jungler that's a little bit more vulnerable in the first couple of minutes, getting rid of it is pretty good. And with Hilda gone as well, that means we're not going to be seeing overly aggressive EXP laners in this game.
I think, I don't know. I don't know whether I want to push it to the extent of Phoveus is going to be uncontested, because at the same time, Phoveus does pretty poorly against things like Glue, for an example, which we haven't seen at all today. The Phoveus most likely is going to get picked up, but only until we do see some... interesting! An Arla ban!
Getting rid of Arla, not the most popular pick, can come up at times when the EXP lane pool has been narrowed, but I don't quite think that's happened just yet. If that's the case, Ulfhednar are particularly concerned about GK going for controlled teamfight situations, because if you have to deal with Glorious Pathway and Final Slash together, that does make positioning more difficult.
I suppose, but it doesn't feel like... considering that it's like you have the Choke Kick, you already have the Avatar of the Guardian, even if you do find the counter engage, I don't think there's much to really fall back upon. I mean, yes, you do have the Suyo, but at the same time, I'm only expecting to see ULF to actually go for something along the lines of Alpha, just to be able to kind of deal some form of true damage and deal with those frontliners a little bit better. If not, I mean, I'd be very happy to see something cool like Barca, for an example.
We haven't seen heroes like that in quite a while, though. Looks like they'll go back to the old reliable Aurora. Also very good for providing that zone control, second to only Eve. And since the real-world manipulation already banned off the table, having a way to stop GK from just running down that glorious pathway should be pretty effective. So here we see the Sicilian, the debut of the hero in the wildcard stage. And actually quite a terrifying hero nowadays.
Now, this has been really interesting because so far the big argument for Sicilian is like, yes, he plays for the later stages of the game, but as a mid-trio, now that the HP, general max HP has been shrunken down, the health growth, Sicilian's third bat impact significantly hurts. It really, really demolishes most mid laners who don't have a lot of health to begin with, and if your support isn't able to buy you that space, you're just gonna have to take the punishment.
As Sicilian is able to position quite safely in the mid lane while clearing things up, and because of the frequency of fighting nowadays in the meta, is able to build up stacks quite quickly and more easily compared to before, especially if you have a solid front line, which they do with the Hylos and a Grok. Once you get into the late game, he hurts so much, and they don't have to worry about spreading their resources thin as well, because Bruno already can hold his own in lane quite well.
And here comes the final pick coming from Ulfandar. It's going to be the Ling. Oh, so they're going to go really fast on this one. Interesting, because a lot of their composition, that mid-trio needs to be able to move really, really quick across the board. Alien is going to be playing Cho EXP with Apex 47 taking the Gatot. So having control over this mid lane is definitely possible for them. They've got great wave clear with the Gatot, which begs the question, GK, did they foresee this? Because again, that Grok, that wild charge is going to be the big difference maker in these team fights.
Yeah, if you're able to position the Grok properly, it can be really, really debilitating. And we already know how this hero is able to mess with buffs in the jungle too. So against a hero like Ling, that's very dependent. What are your expectations, Gideon?
Well, my expectations right now, I think that the early game is a little 50-50 between the two. It's going to boil down to the mid-trio priority. In terms of the laning phase, I don't want to say too much just yet, but I feel like, you know, Harith on Bruno, very volatile lane.
That is true, but not quite as volatile as the wild cards itself, because one slot on the line, we're gonna be jumping into our first game of game number 3 here at day 1 of the wild cards with GK on the blue side versus Openar on the red.
All right, let's get right into this. Orange starts for both junglers here. They're gonna end up on opposite sides of the map. Let's see which side is gold and which side is EXP. Top side is gonna be gold, EXP on the bottom side. So we're expecting this Ling to maybe unlock onto the bottom side. If not, because they've got information with Alien, who's already invading to steal away at least one camp.
We can already see a good amount of damage being done here in the mid lane. But before anything really gets started, we'd like to remind you guys, M6 Pass is going to be available from the 18th of November to the 29th of December. Make sure to complete all active tasks during the event to reach level 75 for free so that you can get amazing rewards.
Yeah, things like Challenger Sparks, Prime Skin Cosmic Blaze Claws, the M6 exclusive Claude figurine. I mean, these are just a few of the prizes. Now, based on this early game, we've already seen that Rosa is just feeling the range of Smile, taking a lot of damage, doesn't lose his passive just yet, but is able to come back into lane. Keep note that the range is significant for Smile, and if he maintains this type of distance to unleash his artillery, it's going to be hard.
Up in the mid lane, Shen already forced to use Flicker quite early on, and they managed to find the taunt onto Zeno as well. Caught out in a bad spot, Tempest Blaze comes out, Rosa securing first blood onto the enemy jungle.
Beautiful work here, and at minimal losses as well. They didn't have to Flicker at all. Shen out of position, having to force that Flicker out quick, but TNZ is not going to let free kills go. Now, with that first initial kill falling into the hands of Rosa, more mid lane control means that they can start spilling down to the bottom side of the map. They just need to make sure at the very least that their gold laner just holds out on their own, don't die, stay alive, and let's play for these neutrals 4v4.
In fact, if they can maybe shift a little bit more attention towards the goal lane after this first turtle, that could help them deal with this first blood being given over to mid. Because Smile up until this point had actually been doing a very good job of just zoning the Aurora off the wave. So with that kill, they've just managed to even it up back up again.
I'm more curious, how exactly is Xeno going to find opportunities to fight right now? Because again, Alien is doing a great job against Samo, clearing these waves twice as fast as he is, has a level lead, and also is relaying information back to TNZ.
And all that information working very well. Samo, Glorious Pathway, drop down on the turtle, but Alien is just stopping the rest of GK by himself. The kick finds it. Turtle secured by the lane, and Xeno already taken out by Ulfednar. They're continuing to fight as well. Tempest Blaze comes out. Samo and Shen both being slowed down. Avatar Guardian's gonna be zoning him away from his escape path, and they get the taunt as well, giving a killing spree over to Rosa.
I don't know. I don't think Zeno should have walked up there. I mean, you saw Alien use everything, right? He used the Shunpo, third hit of Jeet Kune Do, didn't hit anybody, so he doesn't get the reset. So all he has is the Way of the Dragon. So I'm not too sure what exactly was going through their minds, but I personally think it might have been an oversight.
I think there was a slight lapse in communication because the Glorious Pathway was placed down pretty nicely, but the rest of the team wasn't close enough to take advantage of it. A lot of it was because Alien was just standing there menacingly, so they couldn't get close enough. But yeah, the timing just was not right.
It's not looking good so far because now they also have timings on these buffs. Alien is doing such a phenomenal job right now. With that being said, if they steal this away, where's the next opportunity that they could maybe set up a gank, right? The proxy is successful. Top side seems to be pretty much untouched, and double waves being obtained by Sunshine. He's only going to scale twice as fast. 2.8k at 4 minutes.
TNC just finished his Berserker's Fury as well at 4 minutes, so that's very quick for a Ling, especially against a Suyo. GK has missed out on a potential early game spike with this jungle hero, and that means that Ulfednar will be able to start taking control a little bit.
All right. It looks like even for Xeno going to complete the Hunter Strike first. He's not even going to think of going into a component like the Fury Hammer and then building straight into the War Axe to try and sustain through the damage. Because again, in the early game, you just don't have the HP to deal with all that burst. Speaking of which, Rosa 3-0-1 right now. Anybody who's falling in that ult is almost guaranteed to die.
And this is coming from someone who was nearly taken out in the first minute by the Sicilian. So an instant reversal, and that's why Rosa lives up to the title of Torn Queen here. You gotta be careful.
Well, next turtle is up, and I think that Ulfednar is going to be looking to fight more than actually trying to secure this turtle, because to them, the turtle is such a minuscule objective comparing to slowing down the raw power of Smile and even Carby. If they can just slow down their farm, that's good enough.
Here comes Alien, gets the flicker kick right into the Avatar the Guardian, but Xeno is able to dodge it with the iframes. Frigid Glacier comes out, only hits Samo. GK still in a good position, revitalized. Glorious Pathway used by the high-low, so TNC not going to be able to follow up on that kill, but Alien still distracting Xeno the entire time, not allowing him to get close to the turtle, but TNC messes up the retreat timing, and Shen steals it away from Ulfednar. They now go onto the mid lane, Purify forced out, Smile taken as a trade.
Unlucky indeed. Let me just double check the items to see what Xeno got. Yep, he did go for the tough boots. That's why he wasn't CC'd as long. Great for him, because this is now starting to turn around. Now that GK is able to secure at least one turtle, they just need a full winning fight against Ulfednar. Maybe a 2-for-3 would be okay, but ideally a 3-for-1 would be the best scenario.
It's a feels bad situation though, because Ulfednar was doing such a good job of keeping Xeno off the turtle, and then TNC just messed up the timing. I'm not too sure what really happened, because I don't feel like Shen would be enough of a threat for him to make that mistake.
Well, at the very least, they did find Smile there. I think personally for me, turtle or not doesn't really matter to Ulfednar at this point, right? They got the early game secured, the mid game is starting to come by, and we're expecting item power spikes for Ulfednar first before we see it from GK. There's the Feather of Heaven coming in from Sunshine. I don't think Carvey has got that Berserker's Fury or even the Haas Call completed yet.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. Sunshine also has the level lead on the Bruno, so unfortunately this goal lane, which should have a bit of advantage for Carvey, still not quite going his way. This is a very good window for Ulfednar right now, because we know once you get into late stages, Cecilion Bruno can be pretty scary. Here, another gank attempt on top lane, not able to find Carvey. Shen is here, Zaman Force being dropped down. Ulfednar wants to dive the tower, wall charge, hit 3, and then Shen is able to flicker out to safety. Smile as well, popping the ultimate, chasing down Apex 47, and Ulfednar, unfortunately, will not get anything from this.
That's so worth it. They get at least the flicker out from Shen. This next neutral objective, there's no surprises from Shen specifically, but at the same time, we are seeing this very common rotation. EXP leaving their lane early on, running towards the top side of the map to try and zone off the enemy gold laner, while the jungler picks up the farm on the bottom end. Now, the big issue of Suyo is that, yes, he's mobile, but he's not as quick as Ling. Ling can cover the cross-map marathons in a mere seconds.
And with the changes to Suyo as well, he's not quite as agile as he used to be, nor does he do as much damage with his tap skill too, which does mean that the odds are even just a little bit. That's why we're seeing teams prioritize Suyo. Last Way of the Dragon finds the Grok. Shen in trouble, Wild Charge used, Glorious Pathway as well to zone out the rest of Ulfednar. As Samo walks forward, Shen able to recall back to base. Tianzi taking bottom tier 1 at the same time. Bruno not going to be able to stop him. Lord being delayed. GK wants to find someone, but Alien doing a very good job. Avatar the Guardian comes out, Zeno iframes away, and neither team gonna be able to get that advantage in the Lord pit.
Yeah, and again, we can see that Ulfednar, they want to fight, and Geeke, they understand that. That's why they're doing this back and forth against them. As long as Carvey doesn't end up dying to the Ling on the bottom side of the map, then he will be okay, and they can scale at pace with Ulfednar. Now, Carvey already completing his second item. He's got the Haas Call. He's also got the Berserker's Fury. We're waiting for him to eventually get that Malefic Gun, but he's already ready to fight.
Yeah, Bruno is able to fight basically at any phase of the game, and as long as GK can continue delaying, giving Carvey free space on the map while making sure that Smile stacks up, they'll be in a great spot actually. Glorious Pathway comes out once again onto the Lord. Way of the Dragon onto Zeno in the backline. He's not able to get close enough, but the Lord is not being whittled down. Bridge Glacier catches out Shen. That's going to be a killing spree for TNC, as the rest of the team is just splitting up. GK, double kill now, going to the side of Jules Hidnar. Smile will finally finish off the Gatop, but the Lord has been taken by the red side.
Oh my gosh, it's a 2-for-1 in favor of ULF.
Oh!
Oh, he gets it, no problem. Smile ends up falling. I take it back. I thought a 2-for-1, okay, maybe not the worst in the world, but maybe they can go and turn it into a 4-for-1. I mean, Denzi already using that Finch poise, luckily, so he doesn't have to worry about the chase. But at this point, Geeke has a significant deficit, 4.8k in favor of Ulfednar, and we are seeing that Tianzi has completed his third item, Power Spike achieved.
He has nearly a 3k advantage over Zeno right now. That's how much of a lead Ulfednar has, and even though Ling may not be the most popular pick nowadays, this is a TNZ classic. You can see the comfort on it. He instantly turned that smile into a frown, and GK not looking good right now.
Oh, but you can see that the damage is building up, right? Level 10, one item down against Rosa, is able to chunk out 50% of his health.
That is very, very scary. Cecilion stacks up so ridiculously into the game, actually, but Lord has collided with bot tier 2. All of GK here, besides Zeno, gonna be able to respond to it and take it out quite quickly, actually. Ulfednar shifts over the mid, able to get that at least.
Oh, nicely done by Shen, just making sure that, the Holy Shielding doesn't blow up. They will lose that top side one. It looks like there was, unfortunately, not multiple Shens to actually cover all of the illicit lanes, but in 93 more seconds, we're expecting that Ulfednar, I want to believe that they want to rush the Lord because they already have such a lead. I'm looking at Sunshine's item. Does he have 3 items? Yes, he's already completed the Holy Crystal as well. So more than enough reason to actually press the dagger deeper into the skin.
But there's also the argument to maybe not pressure GK too hard and give them reason to extend outside of their base. Because the longer the game goes, and if they're able to defend, players like Carvey and Smile will actually become problems. You saw how much damage just that one bat impacted.
Well, I know for a fact that the Queen would never ask Apex 47 to give up his life, but he's got a great ult, and I think they can guarantee at least one inhibitor if he just commits the ult a little bit further from where the inhibitor is to zone off the rest of Geeke once that Lord starts crashing through. But this is all theory crafting. It's still a 1-8 scoreline in favor of the ULF.
A very one-sided game so far, even though initially it looked like GK might be able to do something. 8K in 12 minutes. Ulfednar in complete control of the map. No external structures standing for GK, and Lord coming up in 25 seconds. Their composition not actually the best at wave clear as well, so it's going to be an uphill battle.
I mean, they do have Smile, and I think that's their only saving grace unless Carvey decides to get his fourth item to be Windtalker, and then maybe he can keep up the pace. But so far, these neutrals, and more importantly, these buffs, do not fall into the hands of GK, ever.
And they are just gonna have to deal with that, basically. Lord finally spawned now. GK needs to set up the wave so that maybe they can walk out and contest this, but even then, it's not really sure if it's worth it.
No, you're just playing into the hands of the ULF. That's the problem, right? They want to fight you, but you don't want to give them that fight, so you have to sacrifice neutral objective after neutral objective until you hit the right timing. Now, this might just be a checkmate angle. 9K, if they can break an inhibitor and maybe get a pick off of GK before that Lord crashes into an inhibitor, they might be able to end this game pre-15 minutes.
Especially if they're able to find Smile somehow. They have tools that can easily dive into the backline. TNZ on the lane, the Avatar, the Guardian, like you mentioned. Positioning going to be key here, but at least they still have all three inhibitors. Let's see if they can hold it. As bottom lane now going to be the target. Sambo taking so much already. Tempest of Blades used quite early on, and the wave has then cleared out down bottom, but the Lord has already taken out the mid tower, and Alien by himself takes out top inhib as well. Very calculated gameplay from Ulfednar.
Oh, so precise, so good. 2 inhibitors for free. You fake a commitment down on the bottom side. You have Alien push on that top side, and you know the Lord is going to be crashing down through mid, and GK clearly not strong enough to handle it. Here it comes.
Avatar the gun comes out. Glorious Pathway zones them away with a kick onto the Cecilia, the target he wanted. Bridget Glacier takes out the front line, and GK Esports is just dismantled in an instant. They're able to clear up the minion waves, so Ulfednar has to wait a little bit longer. In fact, their waves are not pushed up, so GK will survive for now, but that is some serious damage.
Oh man, Alien, he's got a bit of help, but he understands like the game could end. If I recall now, it's going to be a 4v3. I mean, I can almost guarantee this. Just one more.
Well, and there's the one more coming. Another 5 seconds before the other 2 members come out, but Ulfednar is just pushing straight in. Shen just barely survives. Minion wave is still alive though.
Oh my God.
not able to get on top of it, and because of that, Ulfednar with a very, very convincing victory in game number 1.
Truly elite warriors, berserkers in their own right. Cool, calm, and collected, but God, it feels, you can feel the heat radiating off of this team. No mistakes being made, overall clean, and they made sure to choke out their opponents.
This is why Ulfednar is considered the favorites. This is why they are the obstacle of every single wildcard team to make it to the main stage of M6. They've made a statement here. Now they just need to close it out.
I mean, I think that GK had some really good ideas. My issue is that so far, we haven't seen outstanding performances. If not better yet, can we see somebody win out in the lane? Bruno had a tough time, I understand. EXP had a tough line, but mid lane is where we were expecting to see some form of pressure, or at the very least, controlled aggression against Rosa. Didn't get that as well. So I think, is it a draft issue? Is it them getting outclassed? Tough to say, but I would point towards the draft first.
Pointing towards the draft first. I do feel like they had the tools necessary, especially I think Smile was doing a really, really good job right as the game started, and he almost picked off Rosa and the mid lane, right? I think that first turtle fight does come into mind here, because in an early game meta, snowballs become a lot more prevalent, so you have to make sure to avoid giving away advantages that you have early on.
Agreed.
And because there was a disconnect in the Glorious Pathway and the rest of the team to start the turtle fight, I think it gave Rosa back the EXP that they were already missing a little bit early on and instantly caught up.
Well, I'm curious to see the post-game item build first, because, again, a lot of it really comes down to what came first, and more importantly, did they achieve the timings that they were looking for? And that's what I'm talking about. I'm looking specifically at Smile, right? Now, as much as Cecilion can scale well into the late game, the problem is that you have to take a little bit of a detour in your item progression. You must get a Gleaming Gem so that you could stay in that lane for longer before you pick up things like the Glowing Wand, the Wishing Lantern, and he was eventually going to build up to that third item, but it's just, getting it, it costs so much. Rosa, on the other hand, 2k ahead, 2.7k ahead as a matter of fact, able to achieve 4 items pretty efficiently, and that just goes to show how many resources you really need on a mid laner.
Even having that wishing lantern at the very end there, Aurora as a mid laner is typically leaning more into utility rather than damage, but Rosa was in so much control that they could just afford to go for that, and that just adds on even more burst that GK has to deal with. With a lineup like this, you do ideally want to play around Xeno or Carvey, but we didn't really see them visit the gold lane much, and Xeno got really messed up in that first turtle fight, which instantly delayed his progression against a hero like Ling. That's just bad news.
It is bad news, but at the same time, it's like, you should have seen it coming, right? You saw the Cho there, you saw him move out of the lane first, and at the same time, as much as you want to focus your eyes on the neutral objective, you cannot tunnel vision, especially with single target lockdown. Right now, in terms of chemistry, the ULF has done much better than GK. I think they need to streamline what the composition wants to do and really focus down on the important elements, whether it be their mid trio or their side lanes.
Yeah, you gotta be able to streamline your decision making a little bit more here, because you are clearly up against a team with much more international experience and maturity. We didn't point him out very much, but I do want to give some kudos to Alien as well.
Oh yeah.
That Cho in the EXP lane instantly allows him to unlock himself from lane very easily against a sandbag like Hylos, which lets him affect the map right from the get-go. And the fact that he's able to just dash around and distract 3 or 4 members of GK by himself, that's already doing way more than the job description asked for.
Attention is currency in a game like this, right? You can only pay attention to so many things at once. And I think personally for me, I was concerned that this meta was going to stray away from Alien, because he is a playmaker, he is very much a damage dealer, and he likes to pressure his opponents in that way. Cho fits him perfectly like a glove. I would have been super sad to see him play the high loss, and maybe if he plays the Hilda, I guess it's kind of boring, but at the very least, with this Cho, his positioning is hyper aggressive, but knowing that he can push faster than his opponent is already a great tool.
That's also the power of deciding the order of your draft, right? Because Ulfednar started with Cho Gatot, both flexible heroes that can be switched in either lane. It makes it so difficult for GK to decide, okay, how do we pick against this? And I think that cost him.
Well, I think maybe they should have considered Phobius. Maybe that was the way to go. I don't know. That's personally for me. But generally, I think that if GK is going to approach the situation once more, really pay attention to the picks and bans here. That first phase really costed them a lot. I think they did much better in the second phase, though, as they started bleeding into it. I think that the Grok pick, unfortunately, as much as I believe that was a good counter-engage tool, soon as he loses that flicker, he's just not a hero.
And he lost the flicker very early on, so it did not quite work out. But our MVP of game number 1 is none other than the Torn Queen herself, Rosa, in the mid lane for Ulfednar.
An absolute pillar, an absolute anchor, a rock for the team. If you're falling back and you need somebody to bail you out, you can believe that the Queen does not let you die for free. And it's great to see. So far, we've been seeing all the standard procedures coming in from every one of these teams from wildcards, even when we are expecting, you know, an ultimate, pure domination coming in from Ulfednar in comparison to GK.
Yeah, GK, they got a lot of work to do here. There's potential, definitely. This is a team that can be very flashy, can be very bombastic. Their confidence, their arrogance comes from a reason. But Ulfednar is not a team that will fold easily, and you can see the chemistry they have just from their performance in Game 1.
I'm hoping that a great example of this is the kick in to the Avatar Guardian. I hope that we get that moment. It's probably going to happen later. But yeah, this very first scenario, not exactly the best in the world coming in from GK, but hey, you know, you make mistakes in the early doesn't mean that you can't get out of it later in the day. I do think that at least for GK, they need to communicate just a little bit better. Is this the one? It's the initial kick.
Not quite.
No, it's not the one that I'm looking for. Oh well. But yeah, you can tell that with the chemistry, there is, again, very different idea of how they should be playing across the map. But GK Esports have been matching the ULF every single time. Whenever they started to cut their waves and head over to the top side, sending their EXP over, at least GK was there to try and minimize the damage.
Yeah, I think GK still has potential. They've just been dealt quite a heavy blow here that they will need to adjust back from. A lot